Hello, my name is Jim Hernon, and I am a social studies teacher at Lyons Township High School. I'd like to welcome you to this 2020 virtual open house. I'll be providing you with some information on my U.S. History Excel level class. The way I've structured this is basically in two parts. I'm going to start out and give you a little bit of my personal background so you can get to know me a little bit better. And then I'll talk a little bit about the course and how it's structured. So on a personal level, or from a personal perspective, I am Chicago born, Chicago native. I grew up the first half of my child on the south side of Chicago in the West Lawn neighborhood, which is around 63rd and Pulaski. And then when I was 8, we moved out to Tinley Park, Illinois, in the far south suburbs. While living in Tinley Park, I attended Marian Catholic High School in Chicago Heights. After graduating from high school in 1987, I attended the University of Notre Dame, from which I graduated in 1991. While at Notre Dame, I studied history and English. I was a double major and earned bachelor's degrees in both subjects. And I am also certified to teach both history and English. While I was at the University of Notre Dame, I was a Naval ROTC student. And upon graduation, I was commissioned an officer in the United States Navy. I served 6 years active duty as a supply corps officer in the Navy. And upon leaving the service, I decided to go into teaching. And my first teaching job was at a small private Catholic high school named St. John's in Washington, D.C. While I was in the Navy, I did earn a graduate degree, a master's at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., and also got married while I was teaching at St. John's, and my wife and I decided to relocate here to Illinois. And not long after that, I was hired on here at LT in 2002, and I've been here ever since. I am now in my 19th year here at LT. Now, to talk a little bit about the course. Let me move my video up here a little bit. Oops, there you go. Okay, or maybe moving it down, sorry. Managing the screen here. Okay, there we go. U.S. History Excel is taught from a thematic perspective. It's not the traditional chronological start at the beginning and work your way forward approach. It's studying history through a series of themes. Within each of those themes, we do follow the chronological approach, but the basic structure is a thematic structure. And we have 3 themes that we explore during the first semester. They are listed on the screen there. We are currently in our first unit, which is exploring the American understanding of democracy and how that democracy has developed over time. Our second unit will be on the topic of federalism, which is basically the distribution of power between the federal or national government and local and state governments. This was a topic of much debate, much heated debate at the Constitutional Convention back in the 1780s. And then our third and final unit for the first semester is taking a look at American history through the perspective of the economy, looking at the economy through the perspective and the relationship and interactions of business, labor, and government. In the second semester, we'll be covering 3 additional themes. Our fourth unit is foreign policy, which will be basically studying the U.S. relationship with other countries, focusing on diplomacy and conflict, particularly significant wars that the U.S. has been involved in. The fifth unit will be a look at civil liberties versus public safety. In other words, keeping the people, the society as a whole safe, versus individuals having the freedom and liberty to go about their lives as they so choose. And those two often are in conflict with each other. Just an example would be having to take off your shoes at an airport security line You know, that's a choice that is favoring public safety over individual liberty. So there's a lot of those issues throughout American history. And then the sixth unit is looking at equality and the American dream. So it's going to be looking at immigration, the experience of various peoples who have come to the United States, their ability to be welcomed into the system as full-fledged members, you know, issues of discrimination, things of that nature, and then the concept of the American dream that has attracted so many people to this country. And so 6 units, and as it notes there, kind of looping through history 6 times. So each one, we kind of go back to the beginning of the nation's history, and then we move forward through the perspective of the theme. Just to illustrate that to you, I'm going to put up a slide here on Unit 1. Unit 1 is the current one we're in. I said that was on the topic of democracy, and we have 2 focus questions. What was the American understanding of democracy, and what should it be? And then, to what extent do we have government of the people, by the people, for the people? This was the famous phrasing of Abraham Lincoln during the Gettysburg Address. So those are kind of the overarching thinking questions we use as we go through the unit. And then at the bottom, you can see the kind of the subsections of the unit. So we have 3 units in semester 1, so they are a bit longer, but then there are subunits that kind of chunk that material, and you can see that the subunits do go in chronological order. So we start with the colonial period and revolution, into the early 1800s and Western expansion. Then you have the reform movements and Civil War, reform movements being abolition, temperance, women's rights, and the like. And then finally, I have to move my video here to be able to see this, U.S. issues of democracy in the 20th century. Okay. And then when we get to Unit 2, we go back to the beginning of the story, back to the colonial revolutionary period, and we'll follow the federalist theme, the debate over power between federal government versus states throughout the history. So basically, we're going to go through the American history in a chronological sense 6 times, each from a different thematic perspective. So I hope that helps provide an understanding of how the course is structured and our approach. Now, in addition to the historical content, during the course period of the course, we will be also working on developing some skills, sort of critical thinking skills, analytical skills, if you want to call them that. 3 basic skills, which will be taking the content, doing some analysis, and then in many cases providing written responses. So the first skill is to identify and explain causes and effects of historical events and movements, including the influence of various individuals and groups. So this is just kind of getting the basic understanding of history. Who are the significant players, the significant events, and what happened. And then analyze historical events and apply historical concepts to various situations in history. So analysis is kind of digging a little bit deeper and trying to take a look at, you know, why things happened. You know, why did people make the decisions they did? Why did things unfold the way they did, and the like. And then our final skill is to evaluate historical events. And evaluation is basically passing a judgment on it, you know, weighing in whether a leader was effective or not, or, you know, passing a judgment on what the legacy of a particular event was, or something of that nature. So that's kind of the skill-based aspect of the course. Now, when it comes to being successful, just a few tips here. You know, I do encourage the students to be very proactive, both in planning out their schedule and in the effort they put in, to not get behind, to not leave things to the last minute so that they can work more deliberately and more thoroughly. Strongly encourage them to complete all reading assignments so they do get the content down. When they are reading, to highlight. They have a paperback textbook that's theirs, so they can write in it. So I do encourage them to highlight, to mark up the text. You know, if you have any concerns about how your student's doing, you can always ask them to see their textbook, see if they are engaging the book, if they're taking notes in there or highlighting things. Because when students do that, they tend to read more actively and they tend to have better retention. They are going to, of course, have to kind of if they don't know already, but hopefully they do, but figure out what types of study and review strategies work for them. Is it note-taking? Is it flashcards? Is it doing Quizlets online? And kind of working with what works best for them. And then, of course, not being shy about seeking help if needed. I am available to help. And as it says here, if they need any kind of support, we do have in this remote learning calendar schedule, we do have some time built in for support and help. It's called VP time, Tuesday through Friday from 7:45 to 8:45 a.m. and then 2:50 to 3:15 after school Monday through Friday. So all a student would have to do is email me, make an appointment, and I'll be glad to kind of work with them to try and get them through whatever obstacles or difficulties they're facing. As far as parent contacts, you can just reach out to me by email, jhernon@lths.net, and I'll be glad to get back to you and help you in whatever way I can. So that's kind of an overview of the course. I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a great day or evening, and thank you very much.